Malaysians on board Singapore Airlines flight in stable condition. Britain goes to the polls on 4th July. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm SAHIH Samsudin and this is World Today. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim has called on Asian countries to seek and forge a renewed vision of leadership amid the global economic challenges and geopolitical uncertainty. He said the countries should work together to ensure a peaceful, stable and prosperous Asia. In his keynote address at the Nikkei Forum 29 Future of Asia, Datuk Seri Anwar said Asian countries must stand together, allowing neither external forces nor insidious competition to pull them away from the larger goal.
The world increasingly turbulent and the crosswinds of economic the vagaries of the world increasingly turbulent and the crosswinds of economic and geopolitical shifts threaten to veer us, of course. But unlike 3 decades ago, today, Asia now possesses the economic weight, strategic capacity, and the collaborative might needed to navigate the challenge, or these challenges.
He said Asia has in recent years shown that what can be achieved through cooperation, citing the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership and the Comprehensive Partnership for Trans-Pacific Partnership. The Premier pledged Malaysia's solidarity, support and openness to collaborating with other countries in the region.
China, in terms of expanding their
3 of the Malaysian passengers from Singapore Airlines flight SQ321 are currently warded in the Intensive Care Unit ICU in Thailand, but none are in critical condition. Malaysian Ambassador to Thailand, Dato' Joji Samuel, said he had been informed that although their conditions were not life-threatening, the passengers had to be closely monitored due to their head and back injuries. He said the 3 patients were conscious and able to speak while their condition was being monitored by doctors. The other 6 Malaysians, who are also warded due to dizziness and minor injuries, are in stable condition under the surveillance of doctors as well. According to Dato' Joji, all the Malaysian victims being treated are aged between 31 and 65 years old, with 6 of them at Samitivet Sri Nakarin Hospital and 3 at Samitivet Sumukumvit Hospital. He said the embassy was committed to monitoring their conditions and ready to provide necessary assistance. The SQ321 flight from London to Singapore encountered sudden extreme turbulence over the Irrawaddy Basin approximately 10 hours after departure. The pilot declared a medical emergency and diverted the aircraft to Bangkok, landing at 3:45 p.m. local time. The incident resulted in 1 death and multiple injuries. The White House opposes unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state after Ireland, Norway and Spain announced they would establish relations. It also warns Israel against withholding funds in retaliation to decisions by 3 European countries to recognize a state of Palestine.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong on a strategic basis because withholding funds destabilizes the West Bank. It undermines the search for security and prosperity for the Palestinian people, which is in Israel's interests. And I think it's wrong to withhold funds that provide basic goods and services to innocent peoples.
Sullivan added that each country is entitled to make its own determinations. He said this is in response to Ireland, Norway and Spain's announcement of formally recognize the state of Palestine. Israel has responded angrily, including by withdrawing envoys, with Benjamin Netanyahu accusing the European nations of offering a reward for terror. Far-right Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich said he wants to take retaliatory action, including severing an arrangement in which Norway handles funds intended to the Palestinian Authority. Under peace agreements brokered in part by Norway in the 1990s, Israel collects money for the Palestinian Authority, which exercises limited autonomy in parts of the West Bank. However, Israel has blocked transfers since 7th October attacks. Meanwhile, Palestinians in Gaza welcomed the decision by Spain, Ireland and Norway to recognize the state of Palestine, but disagreed about its significance. Many Gaza residents hope the recognition would lead to territorial sovereignty for Palestinians, while some of them believe that it is difficult to achieve peace with Israel without guarantees from other strong nations.
نأمل من الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يتم هذا القرار وأن يتم إقامة دولة فلسطينية على حدود 67 وإقامة حل الدولتين كما يطالب به المجتمع الدولي والأوروبي والعربي وكذا. وكذلك نحن شعب يحب الحياة ويحب السلام ونحب أن نعيش بتعايش مع كافة الشعوب وكافة الديانات.
احنا نسأل الله أنه يصير، بس صعب بدون كفالات دولية كبيرة دول كبيرة عظمى صعب يصير دولة فلسطينية مع سلام مع إسرائيل بدون كفالات أمريكا فرنسا الدول الكبيرة.
اعتراف بقيام دولة فلسطينية هذا أمر من المفترض أن يكون حق لفلسطين على الأسرة الدولية منذ 100 عام. ولكن احنا بالنسبة للموقف الإسرائيلي، الموقف الإسرائيلي ما هو معروف والجميع يدرك أن الموقف الإسرائيلي طوال فترة سنوات الاحتلال هو معادي للفلسطينيين.
The Palestinian Authority says that 142 of the 193 UN member countries already recognize a Palestinian state. In another development, Colombia, whose president has described Israel's campaign in Gaza as genocidal, said it will open an embassy in Ramallah in the Palestinian territories. Foreign Minister Luis Murillo told reporters that President Gustavo Petro, an ardent critic of Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu, had given instructions to install the embassy of Colombia in Ramallah in the West Bank. The announcement came on the same day Ireland, Norway and Spain announced they would recognize a Palestinian state more than 7 months into the devastating Gaza war.
Así que creemos que y estamos seguros obviamente que cada vez más países van a reconocer a Palestina y esto no es nada en contra de Israel o del pueblo de Israel o de los judíos, sino que Naciones Unidas se acordó en el contexto de los acuerdos de Oslo que se creara una solución de 2 estados. Y por eso si usted necesita 2 estados, pues obviamente que requiere que se reconozca a Palestina como un estado pleno.
Earlier this month, Petro, who had requested to join South Africa's case accusing Israel of genocide at the International Court of Justice, said he would cut diplomatic relations with Israel over its actions in Gaza. Israeli forces continue to carry out raids in the West Bank city of Jenin for a second day yesterday, with at least 11 Palestinians killed in the fighting. Smoke billowed over the city's refugee camp with explosions and gunfire heard from inside, while soldiers in Israeli armored vehicles fired at mass used in the city center. Israeli forces had killed at least 11 people, including 4 children, and wounded 25 during the fighting, which began on Tuesday morning. Streets near the entrance to the Jenin camp were deserted, with drones buzzing overhead. On the outskirts of the town, Israeli armored vehicles were parked near a roundabout, while agricultural workers toiled on a farm across the road. Hamas group called the raid a massacre and deemed it conclusive evidence of the criminal mentality that rules Israel and its ideological belief in killing the Palestinians. The office of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas condemned the raid, saying in a statement that Israel is killing innocent people, doctors, and destroying the infrastructure of Palestinian hospitals, cities and villages. The occupied West Bank has seen a surge in violence since the start of the war in Gaza last year, and a major crackdown by Israeli security forces, which have made thousands of arrests. Britain goes to the polls on 4th July. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak made this announcement, ending months of speculation, but not the doom-laden forecast about the size of the government's expected defeat. Sunak, in a Downing Street statement made after he gathered his top ministers, said he had spoken to Head of State King Charles III and requested the dissolution of Parliament.
The question now is how and who do you trust to turn that foundation into a secure future for you, your family and our country. Now is the moment for Britain to choose its future. to decide whether we want to build on the progress we have made or risk going back to square one with no plan and no certainty.
Parliament will be prorogued tomorrow, then formally dissolved next Thursday before campaigning begins. The poll will be the first time Sunak faces the public while being in charge after he was appointed leader of the largest party in Parliament by Conservative members of Parliament in October 2022. The vote comes as Sunak seeks to capitalise on better economic data to woo voters hit by cost of living rises. Sunak heads into the election not only far behind the opposition Labour Party in the polls but also somewhat isolated from some in his party, increasingly dependent on a small team of advisers to steer him through what is set to be an ugly campaign. French President Emmanuel Macron arrived in France's Pacific territory of New Caledonia, vowing to restore calm as quickly as possible after separatist unrest that has left 6 people dead, hundreds injured, and left a trail of destruction. Macron's plane touched down in the capital Nouméa to meet political and business leaders seeking an end to more than a week of looting, arson and deadly clashes that have swept the popular holiday destination. As he exited the plane, the French leader told reporters he wanted to ensure that there will be a return to peace, calm and security in New Caledonia.
En arrivant en Nouvelle-Calédonie avant de rejoindre Nouméa, ma volonté ici avec les ministres et l'ensemble du gouvernement d'être aux côtés de la population et pour que le plus vite possible ce soit le retour à la paix, au calme, à la sécurité. C'est la priorité des priorités. Je remercie le...
Any attempt to convince the rioters to get off the streets will be a challenge, as will trying to persuade the French-ruled territories' pro-independent parties to blame Macron and his government for the riots that he is there to help. There have long been tensions between the Paris government and pro-independence voices among the indigenous Kanak population in New Caledonia, colonized in the second half of the 19th century and part of French overseas territories spanning the globe. France annexed New Caledonia in 1853 and gave the colony the status of overseas territory in 1946. It is the world's number 3 nickel miner, but the sector is in crisis and 1 in 5 residents lives below the poverty threshold. Up next, Haiti healthcare system on brink of collapse. Stay tuned. The healthcare system in Haiti is at risk of collapsing, with 6 out of 10 hospitals barely operational. The alert from UNICEF came as the long-awaited deployment of a Kenyan-led international mission aimed at tackling the unrest in the country finally seemed to be on the horizon. UNICEF representative in the troubled Caribbean nation, Bruno Mensch, said Haiti's health system is on the verge of collapse, noting that millions of children are now vulnerable to disease and malnutrition. The combination of violence, mass displacement, dangerous epidemics and increasing malnutrition has bent Haiti's health system, and the strangling of supply chains may be the key factor that finally breaks it. Haiti's hospitals are lacking necessary medical supplies, with domestic and international cargo flights only recently resuming with the reopening of the airport in the capital Port-au-Prince after a 2.5-month closure. UNICEF said containers filled with vital supplies have been held up or were looted, adding that hundreds of containers filled with humanitarian aid are stuck in the city, unable to be unloaded. Tens of thousands of people have fled the gang violence in Port-au-Prince, with many of them heading to southern Haiti, putting pressure on health services in those areas. Kenya is expected to soon deploy police officers within the scope of a UN-backed multinational mission to help the country combat gangs who now control most of Port-au-Prince. Italian police disrupted a Turkish criminal operation with terrorist purposes, arresting 19 individuals, including a major boss associated with recent attacks in Turkey. Hundreds of police carried out the arrests in Italy, Switzerland, Germany and Turkey, targeting an alleged criminal conspiracy aimed at setting up an association with terrorist purposes and committing attacks. In Turkey, Interior Minister Ali Yerlikaya said 17 of those arrested were Turkish, including Baris Boyun, known as the ringleader of a gang notorious for carrying out murders in Turkey, including via a motorcycle hit squad. On the joint operation between Italian and Turkish police, the minister said 2 Italians were also arrested. The group is suspected of murder, international drug trafficking, as well as aiding and abetting illegal immigration. Most recently, in February, Boyun's group was associated with an armed attack at an Istanbul campaign rally for a mayoral candidate from President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, ruling's Justice and Development Party, ahead of local elections in Turkey. Ecuador declared a state of emergency in nearly a third of its provinces after a surge in violence amid the government's ongoing war on drug gangs. The measure, which allows for the deployment of soldiers in the street, was announced for a period of 60 days for 7 of the country's 24 provinces. The states of Guayas, El Oro, Santa Elena, Manabi, Los Rios, Sucambios and Orellana has seen a recent increase in acts of systematic violence perpetrated by organised violence groups, terrorist organizations and non-state belligerent individuals. President Daniel Noboa had declared a state of emergency in January after a dangerous narco boss Jose Adolfo Macias escaped from maximum security detention. As gangsters set off car bombs, kidnapped police and murdered several people in response to Noboa's promised crackdown, the president declared the country to be in a state of internal armed conflict and ordered the army to neutralize 22 criminal groups. The state of emergency expired last month.
Para ganar en esta segunda etapa de la guerra necesitamos que se permita actuar a los militares, que los delincuentes y terroristas que se amparan y se burlan de las fuerzas del orden y la justicia en su derecho a la inviolabilidad del domicilio sepan que lo van a perder.
Policemen, teachers, doctors, nurses and civil servants in the Argentine province of Misiones take part in a 6-day protest to demand higher salaries amid growing concerns about the spread of unrest due to the economic policies of President Javier Milei. The mobilization rejected the neoliberal policies of Milei's government that affect provincial budget. The demonstrators confirmed that no agreement had been reached by the authorities and they would continue with their demands. The police agent requests include the payment of the wages that they are owed and a salary increase of over 100% to reach the food basket and improve the overall income in face of the current inflation. The mobilization could affect the national commerce since Misiones is a logistic node in the triple border with Paraguay and Brazil. Milei took office in December, vowing to halt Argentina's economic decline and reduce the budget deficit to zero. He slashed public spending, cut the cabinet in half, did away with tens of thousands of government jobs, suspended new public works contracts, and ripped away fuel and transport subsidies. While inflation is slowing, prices are still up some 290% from the previous year. Firefighters battle a large fire at an office building belonging to Danish pharmaceutical group Novo Nordisk, maker of weight loss drugs Ozempic and Wegovy. The blaze was under control after several hours. The blaze, initially described as a massive fire involving 100 firefighters, was under control after more than 3 hours. Large plumes of grey smoke could initially be seen 30 kilometers from the fire in Buxvad, in northern parts of Greater Copenhagen. Fire Brigade Chief of Operations Martin Smith said everyone had been evacuated from the building and there were no injuries reported. He revealed that the blaze broke out in a container at a Novo Nordisk construction site and spread to the roof of its adjacent office building. He also said bulldozers and cranes were being called in to clear the debris and finish the job. Novo Nordisk meanwhile said in a statement that the smoke was not toxic. The fire came less than a week after a blaze erupted on 16 May at another Novo Nordisk site under construction in Kalundborg, which had no impact on its drug production. Meanwhile, Mexico continued to sizzle after the National Weather Service (SMN) announced the start of the country's third heat wave on Monday, just a week after the second heat wave of the year ended. In a report released on Wednesday, the SMN said that the third heat wave of the season would continue across 9 states of the country: Sinaloa, Guerrero, Nuevo León, Tamaulipas, San Luis Potosi, Veracruz, Tabasco, Campeche and Yucatan, with temperatures forecast to be above 45 degrees Celsius. In León, central Mexico, Archbishop and parishioners gathered at El Pelote Dam to held a mass asking for rain as the country is also facing a drought. Mexico is facing a severe nationwide drought that has led to a worsening water crisis across much of the country, making water a key issue in the June general election. Malaysia dethrones Thailand in sepak takraw. That and more in our sports segment. Starting off our sports segment this afternoon, national men's singles professional shuttler Lee Zijia believed that his recent triumph in the Thailand Open helped him to bounce back from a first game loss to overcome China's Zhao Junpeng in the opening round of the 2024 Malaysia Masters. The 26-year-old, also the 5th seed, lost the first game 19-21 before putting on a calm, composed and controlled performance to win the next two 21-11, 21-14 in 61 minutes at the Axiata Arena in Bukit Jalil. This is Zijia's third win over Junpeng, having defeated the China shuttler in the 2022 German Open and 2023 Hong Kong Open. Zijia, winner of the 2021 All-England title, will next take on Kieran George after the India shuttler down Japan's Takuma Obayashi 21-16, 21-17 in another first-round match of the Super 500 tournament. Meanwhile, national women's singles shuttler Go Jin-wei also booked a spot in the second round after beating Ukrainian Polina Burova 21-16, 18-21, 21-14. She is scheduled to meet Thai shuttler Busanan Ong Bangumpang today. Malaysia ended Thailand's reign as the world's sepak takraw powerhouse by winning the Premier Division Regu title in the Sepak Takraw World Cup after a 2-0 win at the Titi Wangsa Stadium last night. Malaysia defeated their arch-rival and defending champion 15-8 and 15-12 in straight sets. The national trio comprising Farhan Adam feeder, Muhammad Shahid Muhammad Rosdi server and Muhammad Azlan alias Killer started off in emphatic fashion, winning a number of quick points. Thailand, headed by Paramat Siriswat feeder, Sitipong Kamshan server and Varayut Jantara Sina Killer, looked lost and stunned after Malaysia took a 11-5 lead. They quickly brought in a seasoned server, Siriwat Saka, to try and earn points from serve but failed as Malaysia continued to dominate. Thailand, needing to win the second set, used various tactical approaches to force the match into a deciding set. However, the entry of Muhammad Haziq Hairul Nizam to strengthen the service department proved to be a lethal move as he was able to score some quick points from his killer serves. It was indeed a double celebration as Malaysia had also beaten Thailand 17-16, 15-13 when doubles competition played earlier. In football, Ademola Lookman was Atalanta's hat-trick hero on the club's greatest ever night in Dublin as German champions Bayern Leverkusen were vanquished 3-0 in the Europa League final on Wednesday. Leverkusen arrived in the Irish capital unbeaten in 51 games this season and on course for a remarkable treble. However, it was Atalanta that rose to claim the Europa League trophy under the tutelage of Gian Piero Gasperini. Lookman may be an unlikely figure to score the first hat-trick in European finals since 1975. However, the Nigerian is a prime example of the savvy recruitment and excellent coaching from Gasperini that has allowed a provincial club to step out from the shadow of a nearby giant AC and Inter Milan. Lookman, who struggled to establish himself in the English Premier League with Everton, Fulham and Leicester City before reviving his career in Italy, struck twice inside the first 26 minutes before sealing the win 15 minutes from full-time. The victory ended Gasperini's own 2-decade-long pursuit of major silverware as his side totally outmatched Xabi Alonso's formidable Leverkusen side. However, just as they did against Premier League heavyweights Liverpool and three-time finalists Olympique de Marseille in the previous two rounds, Atalanta didn't give their opponents a sniff to mark their first European final with a famous victory. Over in Germany, Bayern Munich are close to completing a shock move for Burnley boss Vincent Kompany to replace Thomas Tuchel as coach. According to German and English media, the Belgian has reached an agreement in principle with Bayern. The German club is reported to be working on a compensation package for Burnley, where Kompany still has 4 years on his contract. Bayern agreed to part ways with Tuchel in February after falling behind eventual champions Bayern Leverkusen in the title race. Kompany is the latest candidate in a long list linked to Bayern. Leverkusen coach Xabi Alonso, Germany boss Julian Nagelsmann and Austria manager Ralf Rangnick all reportedly turned down Bayern's interest. Bayern then attempted to hold on Tuchel, who led them to a Champions League semi-final loss to Real Madrid. Tuchel, however, said the parties could not reach an agreement on him staying in the Bavarian capital. Kompany has Bundesliga experience, having played at Hamburg before joining Manchester City. He took the reins of Burnley in 2022, taking them to the Premier League as second division champions a season later. However, they were relegated from the Premier League after only one season in the English top flight. In Serie A news, US investment fund Oaktree Capital Managed said it had taken ownership of the Italian soccer champions Inter Milan after a missed €395 million payment from the club's Chinese majority shareholder. Granted by Oaktree in 2021 to Luxembourg-based vehicle through which Chinese conglomerate Stunning controlled Inter, the loan was guaranteed by the stake in the club. This gave Oaktree, which specializes in providing rescue funding to struggling firms, the potential right to take control of the club in the event of a default. Oaktree, in a statement, said they are committed to working closely with Inter Milan's current management team, partners, the league and governing bodies to ensure the club is positioned for success on and off the pitch. The upheaval of the field contrasts with the club's success on it, with Inter having last month secured their 20th Serie A league title and the second under Sunning's ownership. Founded in 1908, Inter is one of the traditional powers in Italian soccer and home to top players including Lautaro Martinez and Nicolo Barella. In tennis, Novak Djokovic celebrated his 37th birthday with a 6-3, 6-3 win over Germany Yannick Hanfmann on Wednesday in the second round of the Geneva Open. The world number one accepted a late wildcard to compete at the ATP 250 tournament this week after a less than ideal run-up to the next week's French Open. Djokovic was stopped in his tracks by rain as he attempted to serve out the first set. The Serb returned to court following the hour-long break to claim the first set with two aces in a row. But showing that he was still unable to shake off his recent struggles, Djokovic, who saved 7 break points during the opening set, dropped serve early in the second to trail 3-love. The 24-time Grand Slam champion eventually recovered to reel off 6 games in a row to seal his 1,100th tour-level match win. The Serb is only the third man to achieve this milestone behind Jimmy Connors' 1,274 wins and Roger Federer's 1,251. And that wraps up our bulletin this afternoon. Our top story for today: Malaysians on board Singaporean Airlines Flight SQ321 in stable condition. Do join us again at 8:30 p.m. tonight on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM for more. Or you can catch us online on RTM's Click website and mobile app. Till then, I'm SAHIH from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. Goodbye for now.